I'm devastated about Virginia Gifford. Many Epstein victims are terrified. I was already too scared to leave my house. Now I'm even more frightened. What is going on? Where is the Epstein list? I'm not suicidal, nor will I ever be. If anything ever happens to me, please know it was them.
And we're back with a heart-wrenching message from Juliette Rose Bryant, another Epstein survivor, making the assertion that she's mentally well and not looking to end her life. She also expresses that she and the other victims were already living in fear and are now terrified.
My name is Juliette Bryant, and I live in Cape Town, South Africa. I was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein 20 years ago. I am not suicidal, and I never ever will be. I also do not do any drugs. I met Epstein when he was in Africa with Bill Clinton. We all know about the Clinton body count. Another concerning fact is that one of the main women, a very brave angel, Carolyn, who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell, was found dead 6 months ago. It wasn't in the media until a few days ago. The only reason it was put in the media was because of a very, very brave Epstein victim. She doesn't want to be named. But there are other Epstein victims who've also died suspiciously. Carolyn was a beautiful, amazing, brave woman who planned a life on a chicken farm with her family. Instead, she was found dead in a hotel room. I want to speak out for safety and for other victims because it's very frightening when the media won't cover any of the victims' stories. A lot of my story hasn't been told in the media, and it's the same with a lot of other victims. And we actually all feel quite frightened with everything that's been going on. And as we know, this is not the first suspicious death related to the evil Maxwell empire. They also used to run the media. So maybe that's why victim stories are not being told to the media, and the victims of Epstein feel very frightened. Please all pray for Carolyn's family. And thank you for listening.
Juliette also mentions that Virginia was not the only victim who died under suspicious circumstances.
Virginia Gifford is now dead. Carolyn Adriano is dead. Lee Patrick is dead. Ruslana is dead.
So the first problem that I encountered with most grounding mats is they lack proper insulation, increasing the risk of electric.
It's very frightening what's been going on.
Back.
I'm not suicidal, nor will I ever be. If anything ever happens to me, please know it was them.
And we're back with a heart-wrenching message from Juliette Rose Bryant, another Epstein survivor, making the assertion that she's mentally well and not looking to end her life. She also expresses that she and the other victims were already living in fear and are now terrified.
My name is Juliette Bryant, and I live in Cape Town, South Africa. I was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein 20 years ago. I am not suicidal, and I never ever will be. I also do not do any drugs. I met Epstein when he was in Africa with Bill Clinton. We all know about the Clinton body count. Another concerning fact is that one of the main women, a very brave angel, Carolyn, who testified against Ghislaine Maxwell, was found dead 6 months ago. It wasn't in the media until a few days ago. The only reason it was put in the media was because of a very, very brave Epstein victim. She doesn't want to be named. But there are other Epstein victims who've also died suspiciously. Carolyn was a beautiful, amazing, brave woman who planned a life on a chicken farm with her family. Instead, she was found dead in a hotel room. I want to speak out for safety and for other victims because it's very frightening when the media won't cover any of the victims' stories. A lot of my story hasn't been told in the media, and it's the same with a lot of other victims. And we actually all feel quite frightened with everything that's been going on. And as we know, this is not the first suspicious death related to the evil Maxwell empire. They also used to run the media. So maybe that's why victim stories are not being told to the media, and the victims of Epstein feel very frightened. Please all pray for Carolyn's family. And thank you for listening.
Juliet also mentions that Virginia was not the only victim who died under suspicious circumstances.
Virginia Gaffer is now dead. Carolyn Adriano is dead. Lee Patrick is dead. Ruslana is dead. It's very frightening what's been going on. Victims dying suspiciously while the criminals roam free. They say it's not suspicious. It could not possibly be more suspicious.
Going back further, she gives more insight in where and how she met Epstein, and what she witnessed on the island and at Zorro Ranch. She talks about meeting Michael Bay, and how both he and Epstein allegedly were connected with the CIA. She goes on to talk about her suspicions of their experimenting with human cloning, citing Michael Bay's The Island, released in 2005, and references Dolly the sheep, who was reportedly the first successfully cloned mammal in 1996 by the Roslin Institute in Scotland.
My name is Juliet Bryant. I was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein 21 years ago. I'm 41 years old now. This happened when I was 20. I met him when he was in Africa with Bill Clinton. I was taken there to model and soon kidnapped to the island. I was taken to all the properties over an 18-month period. Many unexplained things happened to me there. I've been trying to write a book about it. Not trying to make money, but trying to help share information. And also looking for answers. The media is lying. Epstein's accomplice, Maxwell's family, used to own the media. It's not the victims lying. It's the media lying. Also, some of the victims have been dying suspiciously, such as Carolyn, who testified against Maxwell. She died, and it took the media 6 months to speak about it. I saw at least 60 girls when I was there over the time, but I didn't see any girls being trafficked to other men. I also wasn't trafficked to other men, but I did see scientists there. I also met Michael Bay, the movie producer. He made a movie about cloning, The Island, the movie is called. He made the movie in 2005, and I met him in 2004 at Epstein's New Mexico ranch. He denied being there, but I saw him there. Epstein worked with the CIA and Israeli Mossad, and so did Maxwell and Wexner, apparently. Epstein told me he worked with CIA. Michael Bay also apparently met with the CIA. Also, when I looked into Michael Bay's movie The Island about cloning, you realize that they cloned a sheep in 1996, Dolly the sheep. And then in 1997, Bill Clinton banned human cloning.
Her name is Dolly. 7 months old, she may not be the monster imagined in a science fiction fantasy, yet the cuddly Finn Dorset lamb may represent a major landmark in the history of genetic engineering. On an ordinary farm in Scotland, scientists say a clone was created from a single cell taken from the udder of a sheep. The embryo was then implanted in a surrogate, making an exact genetic copy of its so-called mother. Scientists hail it as a triumph for research in aging, medicine, and genetics.
Y'all wanted to talk about the possibility of clones in relation to this rabbit hole, so here we are.
It seems like there's a lot more going on here and that they're covering something up. Another thing I looked into is Clonaid, a company based in the Bahamas. In December 2002, they cloned the first human, Eve. It seems like God created man, and then man created man. Also, with the JP Morgan involvement, they did $1 billion worth of human trafficking through Epstein's accounts, which is very, very suspicious. JP Morgan and Epstein, human trafficking, $1 billion. What I want to know is, was Epstein taking our eggs?
The company Clonaid was formed by a religious sect called the Raelians in early 2000s. The first successful human clone was supposedly in 2002 and was named Eve, although there was no actual evidence presented to support this claim, and it was widely criticized due to the ethical concerns.
I'm very, very pleased to announce that the first baby clone is born. She was born yesterday at 11:55 a.m. in the country where she was born. So this will not give you more details about the location. She's fine. We call her Eve between us. You knew that, of course. Some suggested it, and I thought it was a good idea, actually. You won't have the right name. And, you know, for a long time, I thought that this press conference will be with the baby, the parents, the scientists, everybody surrounding me, and having pleasure announcing it. I'm alone. And there is a reason to that, is that it hasn't been easy to face the world with this announcement. And we have been discussing with the parents the last 3 months how we would handle today. And they decided not to show up yet. They will. I hope they will. And I wish them well. We started really to work with human eggs in January of this year. So it took us 3 months to finalize, and this is very short, and that's why I said, is it luck or is it hard work? I do believe it's hard work. But we had really good success very quickly and refined the technique for human eggs until spring, where we started to have implantation. We had 10 implantations, and 5 of them during the first 3 weeks were terminated spontaneously. 5 others were successful and are still successful. The first one was born yesterday. The next one is due in Europe next week.
By June 2004, this company claimed to have cloned 13 children, but again, without providing any concrete evidence. In September of 2018, a rapper going by the name of Kid Boo, a practicing Raelian, claimed that he was a second-generation clone who'd escaped from a cloning facility.
My first gen was born in Jersey. However, I was cloned by Clonate in Canada. My model number is 0112568, if anyone wants to see the registration in Clonate. When I was cloned, they wiped a lot of memory, but when I stole the documents before escaping, I read that the mother was Puerto Rican and the father's surrogate, you could say, was the sperm donor was the Sicilian.
In October of 2018, he appeared on Instagram Live with what appeared to be his clone, who had the exact same tattoos and everything.
I was talking about the clone being fake and thought I was lying about being cloned. Yo, come over here. Sure you want me to do this? Yeah, fuck that shit. Go ahead. What y'all gotta say now? You see him? We got the same tattoos, same hair, same genetic structure. Look at my clone.
This could, however, have just been a twin who had gotten the same matching tattoos.
I'm in there. Whew. That wasn't so bad, it was a slight pinch. Alright, put your finger here. We're done. Kibble just got a secret investor. He requested I be microchipped. And he requested I give you guys a quick message. Paradism. For those of you who don't know, be aware. We all need to fight the good fight to free mankind and give jobs to robotics. A world without money, a world without government.
Although the records show that he was born in 1988 and would currently be 37, so I'm not entirely sure of the validity of these claims. Also, when you look at the website, it's extremely outdated, and even for its time, it was the work of a novice. I'm going to skim through via the Wayback Machine, so you can see the evolution of the site and the information provided. Pause to read more if you'd like. They also show a short clip of the laboratory station used for cloning. I suppose if they've been researching and experimenting with this technology since the late 90s, it is possible they found a way to successfully clone humans. Many survivors of these elite trade and exploitation rings have mentioned baby farms, and this would be the easiest way to create undocumented humans. If it were just celebrities and politicians creating backups of themselves for use as stand-ins, stunt doubles, etc., who got to live an otherwise normal life outside of their active duties, I suppose that wouldn't really be a problem. But if it is like what's portrayed in the movie The Island, and they're essentially human slaves awaiting harvest, that is an ethical issue. Also, there is then the possibility of human children being created for this $150 billion a year trade and exploitation industry, so the situation may be far worse than we could even imagine. Some survivors have mentioned witnessing feral children in these secretive underground systems. So is it possible these were clones that were bred for the sole purpose of servicing depraved adults with a certain predilection? It was bad enough to think they're abducting and holding naturally born children captive and committing atrocities against them. What do you think is really going on that the general population isn't privy to? Let me know in the comments. Juliet then goes on to speak about the butterfly symbolism that is a frequent theme among Epstein survivors in particular. She speculates that these women were having their eggs harvested for this effort.
I would like to know more about Epstein's Butterfly Trust, started in 2013 to pay off victims and accomplices. I was kidnapped by Jeffrey Epstein in 2002. I met him when he was in Africa with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey. This is my diary from 2002. I made it in January. I met them in September. Why did Epstein start the Butterfly Trust? Also, Sarah Ransom, another victim, has a blue butterfly tattooed on her arm. Virginia Gaffer, another victim, uses a blue butterfly as her Twitter logo. What does the blue butterfly mean? And why did Epstein start the Butterfly Trust?
Hi, Katy Perry. I'm also in space. We're all in space because Earth is in space. I'd like to know why you were throwing a butterfly around, considering your name is underneath mine or above mine in the Epstein flight logs. Also, what do you know about the Butterfly Trust? The one that Epstein started in 2014. Why do myself and other victims use the blue butterfly as a symbol? Why are you throwing it around in space? Why was your name on the flight log by my name on Epstein's flight list? Can you please tell me more? Thank you, Katy Perry. So many Epstein victims use the blue butterfly symbol. It seems there's a lot more going on here. Why did Epstein start the Butterfly Trust in 2014 to pay off victims and accomplices? What is this trust?
When I was taken to New Mexico, I woke up in a laboratory. Epstein gave me a pelvic exam before I was sent home. Were they taking our eggs? Virginia Gaffer said that they wanted to take a baby from her.
Your baby, but it would really be our baby. And we would have you sign a document that says...
Clonade, very nearby in the Bahamas, made the first baby Eve in 2002, the same year I was taken there. Clinton banned funds being used for human cloning in 1997, 1 year after Dolly the sheep was cloned in 1996. I met Michael Bay, who made The Island, the movie about cloning there. I also met many scientists. As we all know, Oprah visited the island. Oprah, who was friends with John of God, who ran a baby farm. Why did JP Morgan have to pay $290 million to the victims? And also, why was there $1 billion worth of human trafficking transactions found between Epstein and JP Morgan's accounts? What is being hidden underneath the island in New Mexico? I've been trying to work out the butterfly trust for a few years now. Recently, I realized the human hips are shaped like a butterfly. So if they were taking our eggs, it would make sense. It connects the dots with the butterfly trust.
Which I suppose is plausible when we know that Epstein was pretty obsessed with eugenics, and the suggestion that there were labs operating underground at his various properties. But the butterfly symbolism suggests something far more sinister could have been taking place when we consider the mind and behavioral control programming related to sexual slavery. This is still not entirely confirmed, as most of the CIA documentation surrounding the MK experiments was destroyed, and there could be far more horrors that were taking place than we could ever imagine. But again, this is just speculation, cannot be considered 100% facts or truth. I encourage you to do your own research, use your discretion, and draw your own conclusions.
As Tucker Carlson recently said, maybe we really are in a spiritual war.
That we are being acted on by spiritual forces that we cannot see, that there is a war going on all around us, out of our sight, not perceived by our senses most of the time, between good and evil.
Yeah.
Things are already bad enough on the surface for what we do know is happening to vulnerable people and children in these trade and exploitation networks. But if multiple survivors from different situations are making similar claims, I suppose we must take it into consideration.
Epstein told me he worked with the CIA. Apparently Michael Bay also met with the CIA. When I was taken to New Mexico, where I met Michael Bay, I woke up in a laboratory being worked on. Epstein also gave me a pelvic exam. I think they were taking our eggs. There's definitely something underground there. Also, when you look into the movie The Island, made by Michael Bay, you'll see that the clones escape from a place that looks like New Mexico. I also met Epstein with Clinton. Clinton banned human cloning in 1997, a year after Dolly the sheep was cloned. Celebrities like Oprah apparently stayed there. Oprah, who also met with John of God, the man who ran baby farms. Apparently Epstein owned Oprah's network, King's Network. Something is being hidden under that island. There's no accommodation for any celebrities to stay there. I saw the whole island. It was very basic for a billionaire. There's definitely something underneath.
inside of Trump's administration that somehow was connected. Again, the interconnectedness of Jeffrey Epstein is just absolutely mind-boggling. I mean, we're talking about billionaires, leaders, bankers, the most influential people who were on that island, and there was really no one else to verify it. All of I've really seen from independent media is a guy who is anonymous or a girl who is anonymous that is flying drones over the island and just documenting what is there. So being in the area, I'm like, we have to see what's going on here, because there was other drone footage showing that there was stuff moved before the U.S. federal government came in. And then, as we know, the U.S. federal government, the federal authorities can't be trusted here. For over a decade, they let Jeffrey Epstein go on and be totally free. He not only had a private wing of his own jail cell, he was able to leave during the day. He was supposed to check in with parole officers that he never did check in. But even the journey here of trying to find a boat, we were able to find out some other information about how this wasn't even that big of a secret on this island at all.
Yeah, talking to the locals, people have lived here for 20 years. They're like, oh, everyone knew. You just see the 12, 13-year-old girls waiting on the dock. They'd come get picked up, go to Epstein Island. So it's incredibly out in the open. And, people like Bill Clinton came here, 50 times? A huge amount of times. It's just like when we go to Bilderberg, right? The mainstream media doesn't cover any of that stuff. They don't cover, because we knew about this. I know we were talking about this for years, about Epstein Island. We were talking about it before everyone heard about it in the mainstream news. And we're talking about how Bill Clinton's going there, and Prince Andrew's going there, and no one, it was just so out in the open. They were so brazen that they're like, well, no one can arrest us. We're involved with all the people who would arrest us. So rolling up to the island was pretty surreal, and we did not know what to expect. We had because no one had ever done this before. So we didn't know if there was going to be 100 DE agents, FBI agents, all armed. We didn't know if there was anyone on the island. So we had all these plans. I don't know if you want to mention some of the plans. It was a stupid plan.
The whole thing is pretty ridiculous what we were doing, but you had this idea because we were staying at some kind of resort. We're Joby Weeks, and he's like an OCD kind of traveler. But we got these kind of wristbands here. It says Langley Resort. So one of our plans, out of many plans, was literally just showing up there, and if someone stops, to be like, oh yeah, we're here with Langley, you didn't get the memo? And then being like, hey, you got to talk to my supervisor, Jeff. Jeff, you would have, there was 4 other people. We had so many different plans. All of them fell through last minute. All of them didn't work out. I remember being so frustrated in the morning because I know how important this was. We were kind of bickering with each other, like, come on, we got to do this. And then what ended up happening is this random last minute, the captain who said he wasn't going to, he said he was like, yeah, I'm not getting my boat seized, I'm not getting in trouble, but last minute we were just going around the island. I was like, let's go around the island. He pulled up to the dock, he was like, you got 5 seconds. You're going to do this? Do it now. And I was like, oh, literally quickly grabbed my shoes.
I didn't grab my shoes, by the way. Yeah. I just have to say, Epstein Island is full of jagged little rocks, and I didn't bring my shoes. Yeah. So I'm in bare feet trying to run, especially near the end. We'll get to that part. But we went through the whole island with jagged rocks. Yeah. So it was like this sort of, we didn't know if we were going to do it. We didn't know. And it was just like, and all of a sudden the captain, he was really great. At last minute, he goes, if you're going to do it, you got 5 seconds. And you just jumped, and you're like, Jeff, dumb. And I'm like, all right, let's go.
I remember in the back, I'm like, he's giving me 5 seconds. I quickly put on my shoes. I'm like, do I have my cameras? Okay, luckily I had my cameras in my pockets. And I'm like, Jeff, come, let's go. And you're like...
As we all know, things have been very covered up. Epstein ordered cement to the island just before he was arrested. He ordered a shredder. The media won't tell us what's going on. The media doesn't want to interview victims. Victims have been going missing. Victims have been found dead. Okay? I can't even leave my home. It's very hard to explain exactly what's been going on here because even I don't actually know myself. But from everything I've put together, there's something underneath the island. They gave me the settlement money. I had time to look into it. And, you know, I also have the memories of all the shit that happened to me there. Okay? So why is the Epstein list not coming out? You know, Elon Musk and Trump, they promised it. Where is it? Where is it? You know, we're all sitting here waiting for it. You know, imagine how the victims feel. And where are the other victims to actually put the nail on the head or hit the nail on the head? Where are the other victims? 200 girls came from the fund. Where are they? Also, as far as JP Morgan, so $1 billion worth of human trafficking through JP Morgan and Epstein's accounts. And they were talking about Disney princesses. Really? What the hell were they talking about? And that's when I say down the rabbit hole we go. Again, because I work up in a laboratory there. I think they were taking eggs. Epstein also gave me a pelvic exam before I was sent home from New Mexico. I was taken to all the properties. I'm not a liar. I've got all the evidence. You can look at. I've got all the evidence. I'll show it to everyone. Thing is that they're lying, and like I said, I actually can't even go out anymore because I fear for my life because there's been some very, very weird stuff going on. Anyway, I just want to send lots of love to everyone, and thank you all for being there because the people are who keep each other safe at the end of the day. The authorities, the CIA, Epstein told me he worked for CIA, FBI, they tried to fly me there. They only wanted to interview me in person, not over Zoom, only in person. The lawyers, David Boyce, they went through more of my information than they would with the murderer. So there's been a lot of weird stuff going on. And again, I don't have all the answers, but I do know what happened to me. And I just hope that more people will start speaking out for everyone. Because we can't let these people do what they've been doing. It's not right. And, you know, the children and pedophilia, and it gets worse and worse when you go down the rabbit hole. Anyway, but I'm just sending everyone so much love, and I just really hope they release the list soon. And just, by the way, I think Elon Musk is the new president of America. He's a clever guy. He's very rich, too. Trump's his puppet. His trumpet. Anyway, I'm sending everyone lots of love. I'm going to make this video quick as my last one was blocked. Myself and other Epstein victims are very unhappy about the way things have been handled. The lawyers seem to be working with the enemy.
I'll be continuing my crusade for the common denominators of truth, so make sure to like, share, and subscribe,